Well, hey guys, welcome back. Today we're taking a look at some Athearn recent releases, the SD70Ms in both Union Pacific and Norfolk Southern. And you might be saying to yourself, well, hasn't Athearn released SD70Ms before? And the answer is yes, they have. But these have some PTC antenna arrays. The UP version has the yellow sill and some updated details. So we're going to take a look at both of these variations of SD70Ms from Athearn and see what you get. So let's get started. Well, I've been excited about this for a while, so we're going to unbox NS over UP since my new region is NS. I will be still a UP modeler, so don't worry about that, but it's going to be a lot more NS as I'm going to start modeling the region. So, box comes off. Inside, Athearn Genesis manual with 18 pages going over functions, configuration variables, and the like. Genesis locomotive limited warranty card that you can send in. Exploded parts diagram tells you what part you're missing, correlates that by number. You contact parts@athearn.com. And then the Athearn news flyer is all inside. So, and I got lucky this time. I got it right side up. It's always a 50-50 chance when I'm not paying attention to the box orientation. Slide out the plastic protection sleeve. Get the blister out. Look at these beautiful NS and UP locomotives. Well, this is different. Athearn has put in some truck immobilizer, or at least I think it's different. So, trucks don't move in shipment, which is great news. Alright, NS is out of the box. I will unbox UP off camera to save some time. We'll look at both of these on the turntable, compare and contrast a little bit, talk about Athearn's road name, road number, specific detail, and then get into the nitty-gritty with testing. Alright, the all-black appearance of this locomotive is just going to absorb every bit of light I can give it. But let's look at the details. The first thing that really sticks out to me is the PTC antenna array. It's pretty low profile, but you've also got, you see this little pattern here? Those darker areas that are straight, thicker lines are anti-skid tape that they put on the PTC so that the crews servicing the antenna or the roof of the locomotive, cab of the locomotive, don't fall. So that's pretty simple, but I just wanted to point that out. LED headlights in between the number boards here, little finely detailed. Windshield wipers on the teardrop windshields. So they're so clear I had to make a double take that they're even there. But they are. Cab filler, or I'm sorry, sand filler hatches here. Ditch lights above the anti-climber, yellow handrails on that area as well, and accessory hoses that are silver tipped end, McHenry coupler with the glad hand you can probably see right there. Now that we're on the side, man, this locomotive's so dark, it's eating up all my light. Believe it or not, my lights are completely bright here, but you can see the truck detail. See the battery box door, molded detail, 2596 cab window sunshade. There's a slight tint to the cab. There's a cab interior. Aft of the cab is a dynamic brake fan here, and the actual grills here. So you've got it intaking air and blowing air out. That's how the dynamic brake fan helps cool the brakes or something like that. I'm not an engineer. You might see the little lift ring detail back here on the dustbin hatch, and then right aft of that is the exhaust on the locomotive. Now, see the handrails, fuel tank detail. There is sanding lines on this, as you can see right here, going really close to the bottom. So that just provides sand to the wheels to get traction where they need it. So they got a little sanding button in the cab. In the middle, there's the horn. Norfolk Southern, nicely presented there with very clear and legible print. Handbrake back here, and then you've got the radiator fan grills, which in this case are flared, they call it, and that's because they come out at an angle, which you'll see when we round the back. Here's another good view of the sanding lines here. Alright, let's go ahead and look at this flare here, because on the back you've got ditch lights as well, and then you can see the radiator flare out. Now you got two different variations in this run. You've got the other one, which we'll look at, that is not flared. It's just a flat radiator grill, and these that are flared. They did some experimentation with the railroads and found that a flare may help reduce the heat on the radiator there. So with the fans, make them a little more efficient. Now, sorry, slide out of focus here, but 2596 on the back, LED rear light. You've got lift lugs here on the ends that are a little more visible from the side, I believe. So take a look from that angle right there, and you can see it great. MU hose, all the accessory hoses, coupler cut bar, safety yellow on all the stairs, and more of the compartments on this side as well. Got that NS diagonal dashed area here for reflective striping. Emergency shutoff on the fuel tank that you see there. Blower housing is a little three-dimensional on this. As you can see, it's a square area right there. I believe that's the blower housing anyway. It's got access, door access, and more of the compartment detail you can see in the compartment depth there, along with the yellow warnings for the steps back here going up to the crew access, which also has little windshield wipers on the back windows. That's kind of a 360. You can see the see-through detail right here of the grills, at least that grill. And maybe at this angle you can see a little better the pattern of the PTC antenna as well. So phase 2 cab, they call this. Phase 1 is a little more rounded off, and I will actually show that on the UP version as we pull that up next. So what I'm going to do is figure out which way is out, because I've got the camera backwards. It always throws me off. We're going to put the UP version up here just to show you the difference between the cabs, for example. So as you can see, that cab is less squared off. UP version is phase 1 cab, so more squared, bulky there. I think it was designed for more space and efficiency, but this is the newer cab design. Older cab design, it's a little more tapered, a little less pronounced. It's not squared off at the corners here. But a lot of the same detail we talked about. You got the ditch lights, the McHenry coupler, silver-tipped accessory hoses, coupler cut lever on UP. Since you guys UP fans think I'm abandoning you, I don't want you to think that, so we'll focus in on UP now. But there are some differences, obviously, in color and the flared radiator, and Athearn does make sure those differences are present on the locomotives. You do have the same configuration with the dynamic brake fan, dustbin hatch, and exhaust. A different horn configuration because this had a different horn. So you got a 3 chime on this and a 5 chime on the NS version. Do you see that bulky, squared off blower housing? I'm going to call it. I could be wrong on that. And then the compartment detail. Yellow sill indicates, hey, this is modern day, post 2006. Been on the rails, along with the PTC antenna obviously tells you that. And then you can really see how that radiator fan area in the back is less pronounced. And it's just flat, actually. So you got that. There's jacking pads here. Some differences in truck detail as well. You can see the low mounted bell, which is right here. And this is just giving you a representation of 3978 as it was most recently seen. So good look at the handrails there. It's pretty straight. A couple variations of wave here or there, but nothing too bad. And you've got walkway tread there and warning labels, such as right down here on this corner. there's something that I can't read because it's too small. But warning labels, we already talked about the fuel shut off and all that. But same with lift rings and all that on this locomotive. As you can see up on the top, you can see a few of those poking out. And then you've got a handbrake area with another warning label under that. So that's giving you an idea. I'll move NS now, so you UP modelers, like I said, don't think that I have forsaken you. But you can see the differences in UP. So, with that said, that's the 360 view of both locomotives. Let's get into operation. Let's get into operation. All right, we're going to start it up like you're putting it on your layout for the first time. Alright, let's listen to some sounds and functions here, starting with 0. Might need the front. So we got some functions still set from previous reviews. We'll get all that turned off. Now we take a look. Kill some lights since first function is lighting. You can see the nice golden white LED headlight. Bell. F1. Two horn. Short horns F3. I was going to finish the grade crossing sequence. F4 dynamic brakes. I'm going to pop off the rails there. A lot of these SD70 series need to be broken in, so I'm seeing lurches and lots of them. Just make sure you break them in. If you have any issues after that, call your dealer. So that's F4 dynamic brakes, F5 lighting effect, which is ditch lights in this case. We'll check to see if the ditch lights oscillate as NS does. And they do. Drop that down all the way there. Just making sure we didn't have any other lighting functions I didn't cover. So 7 is dimmer for the headlight. 8's mute. 9 cuts the volume in half. It's called an alternate mixer. 10 is straight to 8. In some cases, doesn't seem to apply here. Let me double check. There we go. Okay, I accidentally hit all aboard, which is F23. Or F24 in this case. Straight to idle F19. You can manually notch the engine up and down with 26 and 27, even though you already heard it, so I won't do that. coupler clink. So lots of different sounds in this locomotive. Now we're going to flip this around and see if the rear ditch lights operate and oscillate. Now these should have enough functions that they oscillate in reverse. They do light, as you can see. So we'll hit the horn to see if they oscillate. And they do. So there you have a lot of the functions. You just heard a brake squeal as well. Right now, the Union Pacific version should have a different horn, because as we showed in the details, it has a different horn. It has a 3 chime, so let's listen. And it does. Different bell as well, so it just tells you Athearn even does sound specific details based on the road name and type of locomotive and where it is in its evolution. Alright, let's get a weight on these guys. Let's see. 18.3 ounces. It's 510 grams. 1 pound, 2.3 ounces. So you can't ask for much more with over a pound on a locomotive. It's just a, you know, not a very long diesel, not exactly a short one, but pretty good for weight on this locomotive. Take a quick look at coupler height here. Sitting about 1/8 of a coupler high on that end. Same there. Alright, checking in MRA compliance with the wheel sets. Seeing if the wheel flanges are engaged. Those are very important for operation through switches around curves. And those are good to go as well. Alright, pull test may be hard for you to see, but I'll read it for you. It's actually a quiet running motor. That's just the wheels and the rail. 3.3 ounces. It's about 48 to 50 cars. That's pretty good per one locomotive. Those are regular sized HO scale cars. Right, this is an AccuTrack speedometer. Basically, it tells you what's going on in scale speed. So I go to 1 speed step on these out of 128. And I just see what it registers. The closer to 1, the better the speed control is. As you can see, this one's perfectly smooth. The other one needs to be broken in. I'm noticing about a 50% rate on these locomotives recently that need to be broken in. And again, just something to be aware of, that you need to take the time to break them in. And if you still have issues, you know, contact your dealer or parts at athearn.com. 1.1 miles per hour, you can't get much better than that. It's slowed speed step. So very good decoder control, very smooth on this one. At 1 speed step, we'll take a look at 2. Now just another note, both locomotives smooth out after a few speed steps. So unless you're really operating at very slow speed steps, you won't have to make any adjustments right away. But there's configuration variables, start voltage, all these things that can contribute to jerky, slow speeds, and I've had it happen on probably 75 to 80% of every locomotive I've reviewed, regardless of what it is and what brand it is. So, going in reverse at 2 now, 3, 4, and 5. So, pretty smooth, very quiet motor, as you can hear. Hardly any noise coming out of that. I'll shut up for a second. So there's the UP and NS SD70 series just released from Athearn just a little while ago. Well, let's recap on these 2 locomotives. The NS is an absolute beauty. Maybe I'm just falling in love with the new railroad that's in my area, my new area, but UP is also very finely done. And I love the PTC antenna arrays and the appearance of these locomotives. Sounds are good. I like the fact that you have individual sounds based on road name and where the locomotive is in its life cycle or lifespan. because you know they change horns out, they make these adjustments over the course of a locomotive's life. And then I got to show you phase 1 and phase 2 cabs. These are Tsunami 2. You've got all these Tsunami 2 features. You need to go look at my videos to watch. There's a lot buried in Tsunami 2. Got decent, or really good weight, really, at over a pound, and pretty good pulling power at almost 50 cars each. That means a couple of these can pull a realistic length train, you know, and 50 cars is a realistic length train by one locomotive. So it's definitely good with the pulling power, and will suffice with whatever you need. So with that said, I'm not going to leave you with a run-by, just my final thoughts like Jerry Springer, and we got no layout, but about 6 months from now, we have to be under contract with a house just based on what the lease is, so I'll start being less picky. The only hurdle is simply my pickiness and trying to find our forever house. But in 6 months, we'll be under a contract. 8 months, we will be moved in no later than. It could be earlier, where I, end up renting this place and buying a house at the same time and having, some lease left over. So at that point, it'll just be a train storage facility here, but we will get a layout up and running, and the goal is by next spring to summer, we'll be back running trains on a full-size layout. So no run-bys now, but thanks for watching. Thanks for your time, and thanks for your dedication to the channel, and we'll see you next time right here on my channel. Take care.